Well, I'm really excited to be here today. I was more excited when I got there and I said, where's Cody? He's not even in there.
I'll get it.
No, it's okay. Cody was my neighbor growing up, and so I walked in and saw him, and I thought, I better be careful what I say, because anything I say, you get back to my mother, who doesn't even know what I do for a living, and I don't want her to. And then my good buddy Andy walks in the door, and I'm like, he's just going to throw spit buds at me the whole time. He's already making faces at me. But I'm really excited to be here. I'm going to talk about several things. I first want to talk about the life cycle of a real estate investor. Okay? So, and this isn't even on here, but here's what happens. There's a lot of people out there that want to get into real estate investing because they want to quit their job. Okay? They want to quit their day job. And I had a guy, I actually just let him go today, who was in this exact same scenario. So he got into real estate investing because he wanted to quit his day job. And so he did some real estate investing and ended up quitting his day job and thought he was going to be living the dream because he quit his day job. Well, what really happened is he replaced his day job with another job. It was just different, right? Because all the work and the pain and all the stuff that was going into his day job now turned into his real estate investment job. The other problem that happened is the income he was making from his real estate investing just replaced the income that he was making from his day job. Okay? Then what happened is he started making a little bit more income, so he bought more toys and bought more things, and then at the end, with the downturn of the economy, ends up bankrupt. So I'm not here to say you can't live these awesome, amazing dreams and fly a jet around or whatever. But the reality of the matter is for most people that want to make money in real estate, it probably makes a lot of sense to keep your job. You've got good benefits, pay out health care, whatever the case is. Now, I'm not trying to crush somebody's dreams and says I'm going to go crazy with this, and a lot of people do. But the reality is that there's a lot more money to be made, in my opinion, from somebody that keeps their job and keeps their retirement, those things, and then flips some properties on the side, evenings, weekends, does 4 properties a year, 5 properties a year, takes that money and then can pay cash for a rental property. Okay? So you've kept your day job, you've got your retirement, that puts food on the table. Then what you're doing for your investment is you're flipping properties as an investment, but all of that money now goes to your retirement, right? So you're flipping properties, you make 20 grand, you make another 20, you make another 20, now you have 100,000 bucks. You still have your day job that's paying off paying your family and putting your kids through school and that type of stuff. Now I've got $100,000. Now I go pay cash for a rental property, okay? And as I pay cash for a rental property, now that's cash flowing all the time. I'm still flipping properties and I pay cash for another one. Flipping properties, pay cash for one. Now, you're probably thinking, man, that sounds like a lot of work. Well, it is. The reality is that it is. And could you go a different route? Yeah, you could. Quit your day job, go flip properties and go crazy with that. But the reality is that's not for most people. That's kind of the dream that a lot of people sell. And it works. It worked for me. But I still had a day job too. So my story is a little bit interesting. And I want to tell you that if I can get my pointer here. Whoops. So this is my family. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. Just so you get to know me. Because people ask me all the time, how did you get started with this? Well, it's a long story. When I was 14 years old, I started selling. Anyway, I won't go that far back. I started as a real estate agent. How many in here are agents? Awesome. Love working with agents. Because they know how to pull comps typically. So I started as a real estate agent, right? That was my quote-unquote day job. And so what I did, help people buy and sell properties. This was back, does anybody remember Nehemiah, Neighborhood Gold, any of those types of programs? Yeah, 2, 3. This is back, what we would do is I would call renters on the phone and I would say, are you interested in buying a house for the same that you're paying rent? This is when dialer systems were $100,000. I had two phones and I was kind of hearing it and I was dialing with both fingers. I said, hey, do you want to buy for the same price you're paying rent? They said, fantastic. We put them into a program and we sell the house. Well, then what happened is I was working nights and weekends and I didn't really like that. It wasn't great for my family. And so I thought, well, there's got to be a better way to do this. And so I started working with sellers instead of buyers and started selling some properties. And then, you know what, this is crazy. I'm working nights, I'm working weekends, I'm on call. I'm a psychologist most of the time, trying to talk people off the cliff. And so I'm thinking to myself, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I'm thinking. So So I come up with this idea, well, why don't I help people buy a property and sell a property, but let's do this with investors so I can make 2 commissions. I'm probably not going to have to work nights and weekends because my investors don't really care if I answer the phone on nights and weekends, you know, put the property up. I make 2 commissions with 1 person, and I do my nights and weekends off. So again, so I started going after saying, I'm going to find you this great deal. You just have to agree to sell this deal with me when you get it done, and we'll do that work. And you put the property together, you do the recap and everything else. So it didn't take very long for me to realize, hey, I'm doing all the work here. So I'd find a good deal, then I'd find the buyer, they took care of the rehab, and I thought, why don't I try this? Remember like it was yesterday. I was in a house, my wife and I, we put it under contract. Our due diligence deadline was the next day, literally the next day. We're sitting in this property. It was on Lamar Street. Anybody flip the property on Lamar? No, that's probably good. It was on Lamar, and I was sitting there, and I was looking at my wife, and I said, let's pull out this. Let's don't do this. And we ran the numbers 10 different ways. We had our contractors in there. I found a guy that was going to fund the money for me, and I thought, you know what? Let's don't do this. The bottom line is the fear got the best of me. I'll be perfectly honest. That moment was one of the most deciding moments of my entire life. Because my wife talked me into doing it. So we did our first flip. That was our first flip. We fixed it up, we resold it, and from there, we started flipping more homes and flipping more homes, and things really took off for us. And that's really how I got into, that's how I got into flipping businesses from there. But as I talked about this life cycle as a real estate investor, you know, keep your day job. For most people, that's the best thing. Not for everybody, but for most that is. Flip properties, pay cash for rental properties. But then what happens is you get tired of managing rental properties. So what do? You sell all your properties and you start investing in hard money. So there's this life cycle of real estate investors where you start here and move all the way here. And it works for a lot of people. And we've taken some people through that full cycle, and that's really what I enjoy doing as well. So that's just a little bit about me. How many of you have, I'm going to change this actually. How many of you have done a fix and flip this year? Raise your hand. Awesome. How many of you have done a fix and flip this month? We're in the middle. Okay. Cool. Okay. We'll change that. Just a little bit about me. Most of it on time. Where are we at time? I give me that. Yeah. Okay. I've done over 500 transactions. I'm the CEO and founder of comparators.com. Let me go back to my story. When I flipped properties. We kept flipping properties, started acquiring some cash, and then I kind of looked at it and I said, you know what, something's broken with the hard money world. It's so hard. You got to find some private guy. It's not really, the guidelines on what you need isn't very structured. And so I actually went to all my private guys and said, I've got a better idea. We're going to make it the non-bank bank. So you know exactly what you get. You know exactly what loan value, you know exactly what the rates are, exactly what the terms are, all those things. So it used to be every time you call somebody, they'd say, it depends. So how much you can charge? Well, it depends. Well, what does it depend on? Well, it depends on the deal. It depends on this. It depends on this. Well, can you tell me what it is? Because the problem was I didn't want to go find a deal until I knew what it was going to cost me. So if I don't know what my costs are on the financing, how do I know exactly what I need to buy the deal at? And so that's why we were one of the first people to come out and say, this is what we're going to charge you. So go have the confidence to make the deal. So that's kind of what we have done. I've published 4 books. I'm a graduate of MIT's Entrepreneur Master's Program, the EMP program. I'm very proud of that. Mike Dell's been through the program, several other people, and it's been a really huge impact on my life. I've been a featured speaker for Wells Fargo Citibank, all this types of stuff, and made a lot of money doing real estate investing. I'm going to skip over some more company values in that. We're going to go into how to invest in real estate, and by the time I'm going to go through 6 things, my 6 favorite ways of finding deals, common mistakes as well, if we have a bit of time. So, the biggest problem, I look at hundreds of deals a month, hundreds, all across the country. We do very little in Utah, probably 5-10% of our business here in Utah. We're in several states. And the number one problem I see is people not evaluating their properties right. They think the property is worth so much more than it really is. And it's for two reasons, really. One, they just get super excited about the deal and they want it to work, even though the numbers might not work. They fall in love with the comparable, they find one comp, and they hang their entire hat on that comp. And so people fall in love with a deal. And so my biggest concern, or my biggest challenge on a daily basis, is to get people to analyze the properties better, to find better deals, because it's hard for us to fund deals when they think it's worth 200 and we think it's worth 100. We can't go anywhere with that. And so that's one of the biggest concerns that we have. So where should you go to determine, to get comparables? Let's say, the first answer obviously is, hey, I'm going to call my real estate agent, which if your real estate agent is competent and you know them, that type of stuff, that could be a good place. But where else can you go? Where else can you go to find comparables? Anyone?
Yahoo
Anyone ever bought a house? What's that?
Yahoo Real Estate.
Yahoo Real Estate. Okay, where else?
Zillow.
Ah, that's my, we'll work on that in a minute. Okay, where else? Julia. Where else?
Realtor.com.
That's my favorite. What was your name?
Justin.
Justin nailed it. My favorite, frankly, is Realtor.com. The reason I really like Realtor.com is you can do some good searches, you can do demographic searches, all that type of stuff. You can do your own research on active properties. In some marketplaces, you can even see sold properties on Realtor.com. So you can pull your own comps. Now, that doesn't mean you don't want to have a competent agent working with you. I believe in you working with an agent for sure. But it's another double check that you can do on your own. And one of the things you really need to figure out is how comparables work, which we're going to talk about. Zillow. I can't stand Zillow. Let me tell you why. Me either. Let me tell you why. The other day, I had somebody make a loan application. We sent 2 evaluators out to the property, pretty similar to appraisers. They came back with a value that was $100,000 or $97,000 less than the borrower thought. And I said, well, how'd you come up with this value? Well, I went to Zillow, and that's what Zillow spit out. I said, well, that's really interesting. Because Zillow, and I did this whole YouTube video thing on it, Zillow actually contradicted themselves. They said the property was worth X, but 5 days ago, the property actually sold for a price that was like, Zillow said it was worth $200,000, but they didn't down below. Zillow said the property sold for $67,000 10 days ago. And so you're looking at saying, well, wait a minute, Zillow's not smart enough to say this property sold for $67,000, but the final value is $200,000. Why are so many real estate investors relying this as the way for them to make decisions on what properties they should buy? It drives me crazy. So I'm not saying you can't get on there and speculate if you want to, but I think there's a lot better resources out there. And the bottom line, don't trust some automated system that spits up some value that says the property's worth something, has never seen your house, has never been through the house, that doesn't know any of those types of things, that's doing a logarithm, which is a mathematical formula to determine the value of the property. It's a big mistake. We see it used all the time. Okay, here's problem 0. And this, we talked about the problem 0. The other thing is, don't trust the guy that has a vested interest in selling your property. I'm a real estate agent, right? Been an agent for years. I really believe in real estate agents. I believe in working with them. But you've got to be careful. You've got to pull your own comparables as well. Now, if you have somebody you've got a long relationship with, you can probably trust them to do that. But sometimes, you've just got to be careful. So you've got to make sure you're pulling your own comparables as well. So that's a big deal. We've had occasions where an agent thinks the property's worth significantly higher than what we really think that it's worth. And who knows? Maybe it's because they really need that commission, or maybe it's because they just don't know any better. But you've got to be careful on that as well. So that's my word of advice on that. The other thing I see a lot of people doing is they think price per square foot is like the end-all be-all. If I do price per square foot, that's all that matters. Kind of. There's a lot of things that go in that price per square foot doesn't have to do with it. So you've got to be careful with price per square foot. If it's something you can look at, but I don't recommend it's something that you base your sole decision on. It's price per square foot. Here's the big. When I was first starting as a real estate broker, actives versus solds was a big debate. People would always price their homes using sold comparables. Well, what happened is the market's heading down. If I'm pricing based upon using sold comparables, am I priced too high or am I priced too low? Which one?
Too high.
I'm priced too high. So if I'm in a declining market and I'm using sold and the market's heading down, I'm priced too high. Is that okay? If I'm in an appreciating market, okay, If I'm using solds, is my price too low or too high? Too low. My price too low. And so it's really important. Our recommendation is you find 4 active solds, find 4 active properties and 4 sold properties, and you use your 4 actives and your 4 solds to determine the value. So it's really important because a lot of people will just find one comparable, or they'll just use the actives, or they'll just use the solds. Now keep in mind, the property is active, hasn't been sold yet, so you don't know if it's going to go for less than the asking price. Maybe more, but typically not. But you've got to be careful. So if you need to make an adjustment as you're using those actives. So I like to look at 4 solds, and I like to look at 4 actives, and I like to compare them all. Talk about that. I kind of look at houses in tiers, especially if you're on the MLS or something like that. Okay, yeah, here we go. These are the houses. I look at a few different tiers. Let me just get them all up there. I see all houses in 3 different levels. I see the houses that are in need of work and they got to sell for cash. That's kind of like one tier of homes. Then you've got the tier of homes that are FHA approved, but they're kind of not the greatest house you want to move into. And then you kind of have the fixed up homes. So I put every comparable in those 3 tiers. So I'm going, hey, is this something that's got to sell for cash, or is this something that could pass FHA, or is this something that's cream of the crop, granite countertops, awesome house? And that's kind of how I look at three different types of homes. Here's my thing. You've got the homes that need work, you've got the homes that would pass FHA, and then you've got the homes that are just in awesome condition. I like to price my properties like they're FHA approved, not like they're in awesome condition, okay? And there's a reason for that, because there's a tendency to overprice and say, oh, I'm going to do all these awesome things and I'm going to justify a higher price. Now, in Utah right now, you might be able to get that higher price because things are heating up. We've got multiple offers on some of our properties. But the reality is that most of the time, you should price your home like a normal FHA move-in ready, but do the work as if it's a fix-up home. Do the extra things, the granite and some of those things, depending on the neighborhoods, obviously. And then the worst thing that's going to happen is you'll get multiple offers. You get multiple offers, you're going to get better than less price. But the thing is I believe in precision pricing, which means price it where you think it's going to sell and sell it fast. First dollar, first profit is best profit. And so we want to get our money off the table and get on to the next one. It's very difficult to undersell a property. I'll give you an example. I put a property in Murray on the market. I won't give you the address on this one, just a couple of weeks ago. I completely underpriced it. I underpriced it. This is a higher end home. I underpriced it by $25,000, okay? Well, you know what happened? I got 4 offers all of a sudden. Well, do you know what happened? The price just went up. So I put the price up by $25,000. And now I've got 2 new offers on it already at the price that's a little bit, at the price that's a little bit higher, $20,000, $25,000 higher. So at the end of the day, so many people are concerned, I'm going to underprice my house and it's going to fly off the shelves. Most sellers, they start high and they work their way down, they work their way down, they work their way down. Well, do you know what happens during that time? You're paying a guy like me interest during that time. And as much as I love to collect that interest, I'm more interested in you making money and coming back again than I am in collecting all this interest. So price it right, get multiple offers or sell it fast, and get on to the next one. And so that's some of the things that I think is really important. Let me give you another example. I bought a home in Harriman. It was a parade of homes. This was after the crash, so this was 2009, I want to say. The builder was into the house about $1.7 million. Okay, this is for me to move in. This wasn't an investment. So builder's into this house $1.7 million. Okay, well, so he's at 1.7. So then he lowers his price to 1.6. Well, in the meantime, the market's crashing. So market on this house at the time, he's at 1.6. Market's probably 1.2. Okay, so time goes on, time goes on, time goes on. He lowers it to 1.2. Oh, well, what happens now? The market's at 900. Then he lowers it to $1 million. Market's down at 800. So you're playing catch up with the market. Now, I know what today, that probably doesn't mean much to you as we're an appreciating market, but someday it might. And so the whole concept was he kept chasing his tail, and he was lowering it too slow compared to the market. But you know what happened? I bought it for $500,000. That's what happened. So you know what? And he's been to the house.
It was a beautiful house. I was shocked that he got wrapped in $1,000. It was when he sold it. It was when he sold it. Now he's going to tell you that part of the story.
Yeah, I sold it. I didn't make a ton of money though. The problem is with a house like that, when you want to buy a light bulb, you have to order it specialty from some freaking store and fly it in, help change my mood. And I'm like, once I started thinking that, I'm like, I'm out of here, this sucks. So I sold it. But the point is you never want to chase your tail on those things. So what you want to do is you want to price it right and sell it right. And that even goes, even in this marketplace, price it right, get it sold fast, make your profits, and move on. Don't chase your tail. This is a big, common mistake. But my house is worth more. I heard this a lot when I was selling real estate for other people. And I come to their house and I said, here's the comparables, here's 4 actives, here's 4 Schultz, here's what it's going to sell for. Ours is worth more. Why is it worth more? It just is. You know, ours is just worth more. Well, the fact of the matter, it's not. Just because you live there doesn't increase the value of the property. Just because you rehab it doesn't increase the value of the property. So don't get attached to it. Don't get emotional to it. Take your money, move on, and move with it. Just because it's nicer, just because your home's necessarily nicer doesn't mean you're going to take a huge hit. You're going to get a huge increase on value. Sometimes it just means you're going to sell it faster. And the thing is, selling it faster equals more money. It's that the longer you have this thing out, the more money you lose money every month at this rate. I'll give you another example. We had a client borrow some money from us, okay? We have you sign a disclaimer that says you'll get the repairs done in 15 to 30 days. We have you sign a disclaimer that says you'll get the property on the market within 30 days. We have you sign all these things. There are really notices to say, if you want to make money doing this, then this is how you need to do it. So they get the repairs done in 2 months, right? And then they go over budget on their construction, and they hire the wrong person to do the work, even though we said, you know, you're spending too much on this. And they keep going and going. And then they price the property too high, and then they bring it down too slow. And in the end, they break even on a deal that they could have made $20,000 because of time. Because they didn't think, whoa, the longer this takes, the more it's going to cost me. The more insurance I'm going to pay, the more interest I'm going to pay. Everything goes up with that. Whereas if they would have priced it right, got the repairs done right, they would have put money in their pocket, and in the end they broke even. And those are the things we see on a daily basis. And I have this interesting perspective because we're literally looking at, I don't know, what, 350 loans a month right now? I mean, we are literally looking at 350 loans a month, analyzing those and seeing which ones are going to be the great ones and which ones are worth doing. And I can tell you that 80 to 85% of those are complete crap deals because they used Zillow or they thought they knew pricing or they got bad advice on it. And that's the biggest challenge I see for real estate investors from my standpoint. This is the other thing. They hang their hat on one comparable. They say, hey, I got this house and it's sold for X, so mine's going to sell for X. Fantastic. That might be the case, is my comment. Can you show me 7 more that show the same thing? Well, no, but I'm really certain my house is going to sell for this. Well, it might. You know, it really might. But it's probably not going to. So if you can give me 7 more homes, then we can talk. And so we see this all the time. Hang your hat on one comparable. Is this helpful for anybody?
Yes.
Who was the enthusiastic? Yes. I know. Thank you. One of the big concerns we see is so many people think like sellers that are looking like buyers. If you're looking at an active property, how many of you, if you're going to do a property, how many of you go and look in the inside of the active properties currently for sale while you're evaluating if you're going to buy a house or not? That is fantastic. You've got to. That's your competition. It may not be your competition in a month or two because it might get off the market, but if you're going to buy this house, and you know these houses are right around it, why don't you go look at it and say, hey, is this better or worse than mine? Put your buyer's cap on. If I was a buyer, would I buy this house once I get done with the remodel, or would I buy this house? Well, I definitely buy this one. Well, why? Because of this and this. Well, then you've got to do 2 things. You've either got to price yours accordingly so that it justifies someone to buy yours over this house because of some reason, whatever that may be, or you've got to improve the quality of your house. See, selling houses is just like any other commodity. It's price and condition. So you've either got to improve the condition or you've got to change the price. That's just all there is to it. It's not rocket science at all. Price and condition drives it all. Well, the third umbrella technically is marketing. Price condition is marketing. But that's really what it comes down to. Here's a big thing for us, and it doesn't necessarily apply as much here in Salt Lake County as it does to some other places, but it can. Avoid properties that are in high REO and high short sale neighborhoods. The problem is that there's 5 homes on the market, and they're all short sales, or they're all REOs. The bank can reduce their price to 0, right? They're getting money for free, they're getting TARP, they're getting all this crap. So they can reduce to 0. Well, how much can you reduce your price to and have to compete with them? So if the predominant, if it's 50% or higher, REOs or short sales, which isn't the case right now, but it has been the case, we like to walk away from those deals. Because the problem is you're competing with a competitor that can lower their price to virtually nothing. And you're going to end up left holding the bag with that. And that's a party I don't want to be invited to. And so we stay away from those types of properties. It's also important to keep your eye on market trends. Is the property appreciating? The property appreciating? Are they declining? What's happening? Honestly, the market's heated up here locally a lot better than I thought it was. Just like my example of pricing my property $25,000 too low, I didn't think it was that strong. And I didn't want to hang my hat on one comparable. I used the 4 and the 4, my typical thing, and I priced it wrong. But did I lose any money? No. I don't think so. And frankly, I think I got it sold faster than if I wouldn't have priced that way, so it worked well for me. Here's a common mistake I see from people, and I see Dusty smiling back there on this one. Avoid busy streets. So many people buy a house on a busy street or think about buying a house on a busy street, and they use a comparable that's a few blocks away on a non-busy street, okay? And they say, well, this is apples and apples. This one's on a busy street, this one's not. Well, the busy street has to have a deduction. So they think, oh, I'm buying a really good deal. No, you're buying it at market because it has to have a reduction because the houses that aren't on busy streets are going to sell for more money. You're really not buying a deal here. And that's something that you have to be very careful of when it comes to busy streets. This is my favorite, okay? I had a guy last week or the week before, I can't remember. He was buying a property right next to a Circle K. It was in Virginia. I can't remember to be exact. He was buying a property, it was right next door to a Circle K, and he was pricing with properties that were 3 blocks away in a regular neighborhood with white picket fences wherever he lived, and thought that those homes were the same price as his house right next to a Circle K. It's not. How many of you want to live next to Circle K?
Well, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, this guy's got a question. Let me give you one more story and then we'll grab this question. I bought a house once. I'm not going to tell you where it was at. I bought a house. Let me tell you your little secret. My wife bought a house. I actually said, I don't want to buy this one, honey. But go right ahead. It's your money. My wife bought a house that was kitty cornered from a Burger King. Okay? Or maybe it's McDonald's. I can't remember which one. But Burger King or McDonald's. Okay? It was kitty corner. So there was a house, there was another house, and then there was our house, and then there was Burger King right there, and then there's a parking lot. So it was across the street from another house. But then their parking lot was across the street from this house, and then the Burger King was across the street from this house. Okay? One of the deterrents in selling that property, other than the obvious, it's kitty corner from Burger King, was at 10 o'clock the broilers kick on, and it smells like burgers in the front yard. And nobody wants to live there, period. And so we thought we were buying a great deal because it was discounted so low, but it was actually discounted as comparison because it's across the street from a Burger King. And we thought we were buying it at a deep enough discount we could pass it on to somebody else. The fact of the matter is most buyers don't want to live near a Burger King, even if it's priced 20 grand under what it should be. It's like, I don't want to be across the street from a Burger King. So hard lessons learned, and that's one of them. You had a question?
Yeah, back to buying on busy streets.
Yeah.
Are you saying that, are you talking about comps or are you talking about buying?
Well, here's the deal. I own some properties on busy streets, right? And I think sometimes busy streets make good rentals. But I think it's, the point I'm trying to get across is you've got to use like for like. So if you're buying a house on a busy street, which I'm not saying you can't, you just need to be leery because most people don't want to live on a busy street. Most people have a family, which we'll get to here in a minute. So if you're going to buy a busy street, what's your end game? Are you trying to resell this property? Because it's going to be a harder resale. And then secondly, what are you using as comparables? Are you using properties on that busy street as comparables? Are you using properties in regular neighborhoods that are, everybody's playing out in the yard and kids are they're taking their little bicycles or whatever. Is that what you're comparing it to? So the important thing is apples for apples. I don't mind busy streets for rentals, kind of, but my personal philosophy is I like to stay with busy streets. What about a good neighborhood? Everybody who buys, Randall used to always put white picket fences in his front yard. I thought it was kind of crazy. Did you ever see those houses, Andy? They're put the white picket fences up. He's like, you gotta have a white picket fence because that's the American dream. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I agree that people want to buy in good neighborhoods. Who wants to buy houses in high REO, busy streets, next to a Circle K? Nobody. Nobody does. So, white picket fence, streetline streets, kids playing in the streets without guns. The other thing I really like to avoid is high rental neighborhoods. If it's a high rental neighborhood, most buyers, you know it's high rental neighborhoods. You just drive up and down the street, see who's taking care of their yard. I mean, that's all there is to it. Or you get on rents.com and you say, how many rentals are there available in this neighborhood? You look around and you can really see. But most homeowners, most buyers, if we put our buyers hat on, are going to drive down the street and be like, rental, rental, rental. Well, there's the for sale sign. We're going to drive right by. Because they don't want to be buying in high rental neighborhoods. So it's something to be cognizant of. People want to be in a homeowner neighborhood. That's just all there is to it. You've got to think who your target is. We talked about marketing, which Sean, I was really interested in your course actually, Sean, because it's all about who's your target market, right? So your target market is a family, probably with 2 kids. It's mom and dad, 2 kids and a dog, or maybe a couple fish. By the way, my brother played the worst joke of my life. So my little boy just turned 3. I'm digressing, but I will get back. My little boy just turned 3. Okay, we had this party a couple weeks ago. So what did my brother show up with? Fish. He shows up with 3 fish in a baggie and says, "Here, here's my little boy." He's super excited, right? Fish, awesome. I'm like, well, where's the aquarium? Where's the rocks? Where's everything else? So then I hauled my butt over to Walmart, spent $100 to buy an aquarium, to buy fish and everything else, so I can put these 3 fish that my boy's in love with. And it was the coolest joke. So I'm thinking about making Iguana or something like that for his kid. But anyway, this is how you make money, in my opinion. So here's the thing. You're going to hear all kinds of things from all different people from standing here month after month. Some things are going to ring true to you and some things aren't. There's a lot of ways to make money in real estate. I'm not saying my way is the only way, okay? I think my way is a really good way. I think there's other really good ways as well. But I like to be particular on what deals I buy. Andy will tell you, I'm very cognizant of the deals I get myself into. Because here's one thing I've learned. It's really easy to get in, relatively. It's really hard to get out. So if you get into a bad deal, you're going to do it, run into problems. It's a lot harder to get out than it is to get in. It's a lot easier to buy the real estate than it is to resell, rent, or do whatever you want to with that, unless you're into the right deal. And that's why I'm cautious. This is my formula. I'm giving you the entire formula of what we do, what I look at, and what we like to lend them. The other thing, areas-wise, be really careful. The perfect example I like to use here is 7th East, right? Everybody's familiar with 7th East. The homes east of 7th East sell for more money than the homes west of 7th East. That's just all there is to it. Why? I don't know. They just do. And so you've got, in every neighborhood, you've got these natural barriers. And all the time we find people taking homes on this side of 7th East, comparing with homes on this side of 7th East. And they're just not apples to apples because you've got this natural barrier of 7th East that's running right down there that is a separator. So when you're going into neighborhoods, make sure you're not jumping over streets that are main arteries or barriers to neighborhoods to choose your comparables. Because if you are, there might be a reason why homes are more money here than they are over here. So the main arteries, kind of talked about that, natural barriers. Use Google Maps. Who uses Google Maps? Awesome. Enough said. We've talked, I hammered the importance of good comps time and time again. Bottom line, 4 actives, 4 souls. I just see so many mistakes with this. This is why I'm so passionate about it, is I see so many mistakes time and time again. And it's so much, if the deal doesn't work, it doesn't work. Move on to the next one. Either renegotiate a better price or get out of it. But stop trying to make a deal that's not going to work. It's just, it's time better spent doing other things than finding other properties. Give you a few case studies. Here's an example, okay? House is worth $61,000. This isn't in Utah. I didn't want to use Canadian.
Is that West Magna?
No. But it looks like, have any of you ever looked at house at 8620 West?
Not 8620, but 9050.
I've done 3 on the same street there. Anyway. Yeah, this isn't in West Magna. But properties worth $61,000. Properties worth $28,000. Properties worth $24,000. There's 3 values here. Which one do you think the borrower gave us? What's that? Buyer says, hey, this house is worth $61,000. Fantastic. Let's send our evaluators out there to see what it's worth. Evaluator 1 comes in and says, once this house is fixed up and all the repairs are done, it's worth a whopping $28,000. Okay. Evaluator 2, independent, goes out to the property, pulls the support taxes, pulls the support sold, looks at the property, figures all the repairs that need to be done, and says, hey, this property is worth $24,000. If you were lending money, let's just say, what value would you put on this property? What's that? 24? Yeah, probably. I go in between some kind of nice, but I go 26. Okay? Where did we get? Oh, shoot. Gotta go back. They got this value from Zillow. The bottom line, $61,000 came from Zillow. They hung their hat on it. They put up earnest money. They may have let their earnest money go hard or non-refundable, you know. And it's like, are you kidding me? And it wasn't that difficult. We've seen the same comps. Everybody's seen the same thing. Okay, another example, same thing. You know, I give you the answer before the quiz. Property's worth 90, property's worth 110, property's worth 166. Borrower says property's worth $166,000. Evaluator 1 says it's worth 110. Evaluator 2 says it's worth 90. It's probably somewhere in the middle there, 95, maybe 100, somewhere there. But it's not worth 166. So why go through the exercise of putting property under contract? Why put your earnest money up? Why go through all this effort when in the end you're trusting some logarithm on some computer site that nobody even knows how it works to determine what the property's really worth? So if you're looking for the easy push-button solution to say, your house is worth $121,362, it ain't out there. You gotta dig it. You gotta get your comps, figure it out, walk through the actives, and figure out, what's this really worth? If I'm a buyer and I'm gonna look at this or I'm gonna look at this, which one would I rather buy? Okay, how many doing on time?
Plenty.
5 minutes? Plenty. 5. Okay.
Just make it do a sound.
Yeah. Like 5 minutes. Okay, so does anybody want to see my top 6 ways to find property?
Yes.
You know them all. Yeah. I saw them all. Top 6 ways to find properties, okay? 3 of these ways require very little money. 3 of these ways require some capital. Okay, so I'm going to give you 3 of these. I don't know if there's enough excitement to show my top 6 ways to find properties. I was expecting people jumping down. Okay, so nobody down. So obviously, work with the real estate. The majority of the properties I bought were through the MLS. Now, let me clarify. The MLS is the hardest way to find properties because there's lots of competition. They're the skinniest deals. They have the least amount of margin. But they're the easiest, right? Log on, make offers, keep making offers, and everything else like that. So most of my deals were that way because I'm kind of lazy. Okay? So I made a whole bunch of offers, made tons of offers, got some of them accepted, and flipped some of those homes. That's how I did it because it was easier for me to make 1,000 offers than it was to do other things. Mainly because I didn't learn the marketing side of the business until a little bit later in life. And honestly, with everything you're hearing here, if you haven't realized yet that you're a marketer, you're in the marketing business, then you've missed something. Because your job is to find good deals. If you find a good deal, you know how to analyze that, fix it up, you gotta know how to find good deals. That's the older stuff. Okay, so working with real estate. Number 2, how many of you have bought a property from a private auction? Does anybody know what a private auction is? Okay, so a private auction, so when a bank forecloses on a property, right? They list with an agent or whatever they want to do. Lots of times what will happen is the bank will take a tape of properties and they'll say, we want to unload a whole bunch of them all at once. So you've maybe seen some advertisements with auction.com, Williams & Williams, and those types of places. What they actually do is they actually sell those properties or liquidate those properties in an auction-type environment. It's not the foreclosure auction, like you go to the foreclosure and that type of stuff, you have to have cash the next day. Here in Utah you do, in other places you don't. It's not that type of environment. It's an environment where they put you in a hotel and there's a whole bunch of people and they're not cheering and swearing a tie and all that type of stuff. That's what they put you into. And what they try to do is get the price as high as they can. Now they have a reserve price, so you think, oh man, I'm going to buy this property for $20,000. Well, they have a reserve. So what happens is you bid on it, maybe you win the bid, and then you put the contract, you put your earnest money up, and then the bank has a couple of weeks to decide if they're going to accept your offer. The first one I went to, I thought, I have scored the gold mine. I made like 4 offers. I got 4 offers accepted, bid on a whole bunch of houses. At the end of the day, I didn't buy any of the houses because the bank didn't accept my offer. But I have bought 3 or 4 properties this way. My number 1 profit margin was on one of these properties. It takes a lot to take some more. Working with REO agents. Kind of the same as working with agents, I know, but there's a big difference. Who's the person that has the most power in a real estate, in an REO agency? No.
Asset manager.
Yeah. The secretary! The office manager. The office manager in the REO office has more power than the guy that owns it. And I'll tell you why, because here's what happens all the time. Somebody in this room makes an offer on a property and gets it accepted, and some magical way they aren't able to get their financing. It happens, right? Quite frequently. Well, what is the office manager's like, man, I really want to make my bonus this month, so what am I going to do? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call my buddy Ryan, and I'm going to sell the property to him and for the same price, and just get the property sold and move on. So those things happen all the time. Or they call you and say, we're putting this house on the market, we'll take a look at it right away. And so those types of relationships are very helpful. Okay, so some things that you can do, ways to find properties, they're going to cost a little money. I think Sean was alluding to, are you doing postcards or what are you guys doing? Postcards, okay? Postcards, direct marketing campaigns to targeted people who are going to be interested in selling their property. Great way to find properties, great way to get the phone ring. And you got to know how to negotiate, like Matt's saying. You'll make more money negotiating in 10 minutes than you can do anything else in your entire life. You'll make $10, $20, $5, $3,000 in 10 minutes, and it's that crucial moment